We are those guys. We see these guys over there. What about those guys? I'm Alex Hardy, and with me, as always, Nick Ferguson. We are thrilled to be back with the second to last of our previews ahead of the season, and for a pretty good time considering we have just a couple days till kickoff. So we'll be in the AFC East. He's Nick Ferguson, a former AFC East veteran himself with the New York Jets, and he's with me now. Nick, what's going on, my man?
What's good, man? It is time to get into some football. It is officially football week, and I don't know if you wrapped up all your fantasy drafts. If you have not, then you are late to the party, my dude.
It's all good because we've got some position battles to shake up. You are late to the party if you're drafting on Friday, so I still have a couple ahead of me, but it's going to be great. I got I'm thrilled, honestly thrilled. Um, so let's get down to it. We're going to talk about the AFC East. The Buffalo Bills have won 5 straight divisions, so we'll start there. It likely could be a sixth because at best you have a rebuilding New England Patriots around them. At best, you have a Miami Dolphins defense that doesn't look as bad as it has in the preseason, or a star wide receiver who is not quite on the same page with the rest of the team because, like he did on the football field before it wasn't allowed anymore, he was saying deuces by the end of last year. And then meanwhile, the Jets are, well, the Jets. So, Nick, what's standing in the way of the Buffalo Bills this year? Is it anybody in the AFC East, or is it when we start talking about them and the other top dogs in the AFC?
Well, first and foremost, the team that's standing in the way of the Buffalo Bills are the Buffalo
Are the
Bills
Buffalo Bills? There he is, Nick.
themselves. Because listen, I mean, this is a team that is done extraordinary all season long. You go back to last year; they were 5-4 on the road, but a perfect 8-0 at home. And when this team is playing well, like they can, no one can really stop them. I mean, James Cook is now signed, and now you have your key quarterback in Josh Allen. I mean, he's married now. Hopefully, that doesn't somehow change his motivation. Hopefully, it motivates him even more to go out and bring a Super Bowl to the city of Buffalo. But I love everything about the Sean McDermott coach team because as long as you have Josh Allen upright, it changes so many things. You got two great tight ends, Dawson Knox, and you got Kincaid. I mean, this is a team that, for me, I mean, they can win it all if they don't derail themselves, as though we've seen them do in the past.
Well, listen, the major criticism, I'll talk about the quarterback because that's what we love to do. The major criticisms of Josh Allen 2 years ago was playing hero ball and turning over the football so much. And he really took care of it and, won an MVP. We could debate whether it's him or Lamar until, the 2026 season. But I'll at least say that the major criticisms that Josh had was he was asked to do too much, right? There was too much on his plate. He'd throw an untimely interception. He would have a bad fumble because he's trying to get the ball over the line. But the offense only goes as far as the quarterback does, especially in that case. And my concern is the lack of weapons around it. It never really replaced a top pass catcher ever since Stephon Diggs left. And they tried with Amari Cooper, and it didn't go very well. Khalil Shakir, who I love, is a demon out of the slot, but comes in with a high ankle sprain. Meanwhile, Keon Coleman, last year's first-round pick, traded down, so he's the first pick of the second round last year, has to step up in a major way, and a bunch of question marks all over the place. So the running game, I'm confident in James Cook, but it was the first year that he had kind of the red zone on his plate. So, as great as Josh Allen is, I have so many questions at just about every other position on that offense. So it's really as far as he's willing to take them, and that could come with some untimely mistakes. Now, is that going to be against the AFC East opponents? Probably not, but I'm not going to pick them to go 6-0 either against the rest of the teams in the division. The defensive side of the football, the big addition, I think, would be the often injured but sometimes electric Joey Bosa, coming from LA, and after a great start to his career, could never stay on the field. But the Bills have been doing this for a long time. I think of Von Miller. I think of just paying these older vets a lot of money up front and just hoping they can make a splash. Meanwhile, they had devoted a lot of their drafts to the defensive line, and for whatever reason, never really seemed to get it all to work together. So, like, there's a lot of flashy names on both sides of the ball, but it's about putting it all together, Nick. That's really my concern when you talk about the Buffalo Bills beating the Buffalo Bills.
Well, here's the interesting thing about the Buffalo Bills. I mean, we're talking about the Buffalo Bills somewhat being somewhat of a sand trap for themselves, but they're in the AFC East. What team is there to rival them? There's only one potential team, and I still don't think this team will just kind of overtake the Buffalo Bills, and that's Drake May and the Patriots. But
Let's get to those Patriots. I'd hate to talk about it. You know
well,
me. I'd hate to
listen,
talk
I
about it.
understand, but once again, where's the real challenge? I mean, we don't know what the Patriots are going to be. I know there's a lot of talk of what they can be with Mike Vrabel coming back, and oh, can Drake May be a byproduct of everything that Patriots say, well, the Patriot way? We don't really know that. So with Josh going out there and playing, even though sometimes he get into hero ball too much, I still like Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills in this division. If you were to tell me that there was more competition, that we're going to get something extra out of Justin Fields and the Jets, maybe you could twist my arm and change my mind. Then we're talking about Mike McDaniels and Tua Tagovailoa down with the Miami Dolphins. What will that offense actually be? Because, I mean, you look at their run game. It was a run game that we thought was prolific. They were going to carry over from those days with the 49ers, but it really hasn't gotten to that point. And that's another team that struggles on defense. And we all know this, especially if you're a fantasy owner. When the Bills get inside the red zone, you might as well sit James Cook on the bench because the other quarterback, named Josh Allen, he's getting those fantasy points.
Yep, as you know, look, Jalen Hurts, 17 touchdowns in the last 2 years on the tush push. Josh Allen has 11. So it's not as if Jalen Hurts is on this plateau all on his own. And, shout out the Buffalo Bills who voted to outlaw the tush push, but we're the second team behind them to employ it the most. We'll kick this around, and, as excited as I am to talk about my Patriots, and you brought them up, what about your guy, Aaron Glenn? Finally getting his head coaching opportunity with those New York Jets, the team that you played for, began your professional career with, Nick, on the active roster, I should say. But I was a little concerned, I have to admit, because we were making too much out of the preseason, and that's a criticism of myself and other members of the media. That what teams do in the preseason, all of a sudden, when you start charting, completion percentage and practices, and on the first couple of drives of the second preseason game, that's when you've gone a little too far. Although it was alarming, first, that Justin Fields didn't complete a ball more than 10 yards, it seemed, all of camp and all in the preseason. And second, and more importantly, is what Aaron Glenn said afterwards, that the Philadelphia Eagles ran the football and won a Super Bowl. So maybe the New York Jets could do the same thing. That has me a little concerned, Nick, because it is a passing league, despite what your guy Aaron Glenn said.
Well, even though it's a passing league, we've seen the running back position be devalued over the years. So you're going to need somewhat of a balanced attack. And I think what Aaron was trying to do is do just that. Take a page out of the Philadelphia Eagles playbook, but he doesn't have that type of personnel. He doesn't have that same personnel on his D line. I mean, they got some talented players, don't get me wrong, but you don't got four dogs like Vic Fangio has. You don't have guys in the secondary that can help you out. Yeah, you have Sauce Gardner, and I know some say that he is the best corner in the league. Some in Denver would argue against that, but yet I digress. But being able to just lean heavily on the run is not something that you can just do. At some point, you have to throw the ball, and we're going to be able to see possibly the athleticism of Justin Fields. Will it be enough for the New York Jets to get them where they need to get to? I don't think it's going to be enough, but they're going to be competitive. It's going to be really interesting to see what version of Justin Fields we actually get and how much are we going to see from the passing game. Will they be just kind of a mediocre, run-of-the-mill type of passing attack, or are we going to see explosive plays down the field? If I'm Justin Fields, I want to pump my brakes. I don't want to do too much, but playing in New York City, especially playing for what is considered to be the second team in New York, And I can't believe I'm saying that, basically what the Giants are going through. But this is kind of the way New York City looks at it. Will he press to impress the people of New York, or will he just allow the game to come to him? We'll get a chance to see that.
Well, so I'll just stick with the head coach here because Justin Fields, the short sample size with the Steelers compared to his career beginning in Chicago, there are concerns there that there's similar mistakes that are being made now and entering year 5, year 6, I can't remember, compared to when he came in as a rookie. But Aaron Glenn's hire is a culture is a culture fit, and he's a trendsetter in how he wants his team to act both on and off the field. Does that personnel sort of match the mindset, or was that something more that came from Denver? I mean, go back to your time in Houston. Aaron Glenn is who he was and still is, but the Jets, look, they're not going to fully match that in year 1, or when does that buy-in kind of occur?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, playing with Aaron Glenn, he was a stickler for the details. He was very intense and calm at times, but he spent time around Sean Payton, who spent time around, Bill Parcells, and
As you did as
I
well.
spent time around Parcells, and anyone who's done that, they can tell you it's anything but country club. And it's one thing for a coach to have that fire and that drive to try to get something done and knowing how important it is another thing, the players actually duplicating and understand what that culture means. Because if you're a parent, you don't understand. I mean, you may have drive. That doesn't necessarily mean your kid has the same level of drive. So that is something that Aaron Glenn is going to run into, and that's going to be the biggest challenge for him. Trying to get the players to embrace the same mentality that he has. And Alex, I can tell you as a guy that coached and a guy that played, it is very hard to get all 22 starting guys on that same page, especially when you're used to losing, right? You're used to, oh, here it comes, waiting for the other shoe to drop, and then it actually drops, and then knowing once again who you are in competition with. I mean, you're still in the competition with the Jets, but you got Josh Allen, you got Tua, you got Drake May, who I've mentioned before. It's not going to be an easy outing for Aaron Glenn and the New York Jets. That's just kind of the way that it is.
You mentioned my guy Drake May again. I know you're desperate to talk about my New England
No,
Patriots, so let's. Okay, fine. Then we'll save the best for last. The Miami Dolphins. Mike McDaniel goes from. I mean, again, you would coach with him in San Francisco. He goes from one of the, without a doubt, and again, it's all facetious, right? Without a doubt, one of the best play callers. The pre-snap motions was revolutionary and got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Devon Achane, all going. They hung 70 points on your Denver Broncos. This is going to be the greatest
Wow,
team
man,
since the show on
why
turf.
you got to bring up old stuff? I mean,
That's exactly what it is, though. It's old stuff. Fast forward 2 years later, and McDaniel appears to be on the hot seat. I mentioned Tyreek wanted out this time a year ago. Jalen Waddle has the worst career year of his, and they never really recovered on both sides of the line with, key starters. I think of Robert Hunt, who became, at the time, the highest paid guard to go to Carolina. I think about Terron Armstead, now retired. This is a team that has too many holes, and the players that are there are coming off of what apparently was some of the worst years of their career last year. So is there any optimism for this Miami Dolphins team that is now looking uphill after they kind of came in with a big splash when McDaniel first showed up?
well, I mean, there's always hope until there's no hope. And starting off the season, everyone is optimistic that this could be their year. Once you start playing games, that's where, the cream of the crop started to separate themselves. But you just mentioned the creativity of Mike McDaniels and being able to come up with creative plays and schemes to help out his quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. But see, that's the biggest issue with this team, right? Starting with the quarterback play, because it's not to say that I feel as though Tua is inadequate. It's the fact of, well, this dude has too many concussions. And if you're a fan of the Miami Dolphins, man, every time that he is under pressure, you are cringing. So that whole ability to move outside the pocket, some of those plays are taken away because you don't want Tua to get injured, and now you have to go to the backup. Now you bring in Minka Fitzpatrick, who's back with the team that drafted him, but even Minka
Yep.
is not going to be enough on the defensive side of the ball to allow the Miami Dolphins to stop people the way they want them to and give the ball back to Tua Tagovailoa. And the hope is, regardless of what happened last season, and yes, every marriage has its issues, they're hoping that they can mend the fences with Tyreek Hill because if they can do that, man, he is still one of the more explosive players in the league, and I've seen that. I've seen that dude up close and personal, so I know that cheetah still can run. But you worry about how his off the field issues are going to impact him in his play on the field. So Mike McDaniel is going to have to do a great job of kind of reeling him in to make sure they surround him with his teammates and try to get his mind back on playing football and being one of the more explosive players in the NFL.
There's a disconnect, right? Tyreek Hill wanted out, and Tua coming into this season said that there's still a relationship that needs to be mended, that by the time they met with the media, presumably with time to work out during the offseason, it was something that they still hadn't discussed. And again, Mike McDaniel, being one of the best and creative play callers over the last couple of years, you'd like to think they didn't show anything in the preseason because the remarks coming from the Lions and the Bears about how apathetic and how slow and lethargic that those Dolphins were, um, they just got smashed during the preseason. So it's a lot to ask for a complex offense for guys to get going right away. Again, the continuity with quarterback and receiver and a couple pieces left on that offensive line gives me some hope. But the identity of this team is just, you know, they're sports cars. Nick, Tyreek, Waddle, they're all undersized but can move. Like Devon Achane on the defensive side, Chop Robinson had a great second half to his season. Was one of the most undersized, hand in the dirt defensive ends in the league. I mean, Minka Fitzpatrick is a nice addition in center field, but a guy that came in as a ball hawk and didn't really do that or have to do that for the Steelers defense the last few years. They're just lacking size overall, and that's really what kind of concerns me. And the cliche of them not being able to play on the road and the conditions, it kind of matters when you have track stars and athletes that have to play in bad weather conditions, Nick.
Well, hold on for a second. Just because
Oh, no.
the wide receivers are kind of on the smaller sides from a height standpoint.
And the defensive
Oh,
line and
okay,
the
but but
offensive line.
but that doesn't really. There are ways to kind of work around that. Does it make things interesting as a play caller offensively and defensively? Yes, it does. But these guys get paid a lot of money and they put in a lot of hours during the week to figure these things out because your job as an OC, let's start there first, if you're Mike McDaniels, to come up with creative plays, which you've said a number of times. But also, the other aspect of it is finding the matchup, exploiting that particular matchup. And since Mike McDaniels comes from that Mike Shanahan's tree, for me, he needs to get back to the basic. And what I mean by that is run the ball to pass the ball. That's the essential part of what this offense should be and was when I was a member of the San Francisco 49ers. Now, that becomes a bigger question. I know I talked about Tua, but can the Miami Dolphins run the ball at a steady clip? If they can't, that now derails the play calling and how Tua Tagovailoa actually executes.
I'm into it. It's going to take some time if it works. A lot of changing parts, and we'll just have to wait and see. Which leaves us with one team left,
What
Nick.
team is that?
So, Mike Vrabel's back. Gerard Mayo was an abject failure. It's not
Come
entirely on
on.
him. He was a failure. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I said he was in an impossible position, but the stories that are coming out from players who played under him and their lack of preparedness, you have to point to the coach at some extent. So, Mike Vrabel is allegedly going to bring back the culture that was founded and fostered playing under Bill Belichick and being over with Urban Meyer at Ohio State and his time in Nashville. I know I didn't need to bring up Herb, but I guess it starts at the top, and you we're recording this podcast on the night where Bill Belichick is blown out, I think 48-14 in his first college football
How
game
about
with
that
North
Patriots
Carolina.
culture now?
How about it? It's almost as if it doesn't translate to college, and it takes time to build a program, which is what Mike Vrabel doesn't have a lot of time of. He may have a longer contract, but it's a team that's starved to build around a promising second-year quarterback in Drake May because the time is ticking, right? He's on that rookie deal. If you want to have any competitiveness against those Buffalo Bills, you have to draft and build and grow your own. And they've identified a couple guys that they've, to this point, paid on the defensive side. I look at Christian Gonzalez, who's due for a contract next year. Christian Barmore got his deal done and is, thank goodness, back in full health. They need to make the further additions after this year a priority. I'm not looking for them to upset the Buffalo Bills. I don't think anybody is, but to establish a tangible formula for winning football games would be ideal, right? Everybody wants to do that, but they lack the playmakers. They lack the depth on the offensive and defensive lines to get that going. Can they be a top 10 defense and a top 20 offense? I think that's totally possible. If that's the case, 8-9 wins, it just comes down to whether you have them stacked between the Dolphins and the Jets within that division. So, look, it's all about buy-in, and it just didn't happen under Gerard Mayo. Maybe this time around it will for Mike Vrabel.
This is a team that they talk about the Patriot way, and to me, it's like they're living in the past. They need to live in the now, man, the now.
Mm-hmm.
And because Robert Kraft, he's had a lot of success under Bill Belichick and the whole Patriot way. Like you said, they tried to do that with Gerard Mayo and didn't work. And the hope is that, here's another Patriot guy coming in to talk about the Patriot way, but this time, Vrabel is going to get it right. He's going to do exactly what Gerard Mayo could not do. But also, he's getting a better suited Drake May, because Drake May, and we know this with any rookie quarterback, you're going to have your stumbles. You're going to have your pitfalls. Mm-hmm. But now he's much better. And so much so, they got all the game back together. Even Josh McDaniels, who is not a fan favorite here in Denver, Colorado.
But, what happened there, Nick?
Yeah. We don't have enough time for that one. But the idea is that now you have Vrabel coming back, bringing that stoic culture back to the Patriots. Oh, by the way, he's bringing on Josh McDaniels, and that should help out Drake May. I will agree with that. Josh McDaniels does a great job from an offensive coordinator standpoint, not that much of a head coach. But when you look at a team that's voided of talent, you got to look at the Patriots and say, they're not there yet. And maybe they're 2, maybe 3 years away. And here's the difference. Opposed to Gerard Mayo, Mike Vrabel is going to have that time. He's going to get that 2-3 years to turn this thing around, unlike Gerard Mayo. So it is going to be interesting. Drake May show in the back half of the season what everyone was saying when he came out of North Carolina and projecting what he could be. So it's going to be interesting to see in his second year in a different offensive scheme. He does have Stephon Diggs there, and he has couple of other weapons. Kendrick Bourne,
Kendrick Bourne was cut. It's Mac Hollins.
I'm sorry.
He asked for his release. I think he's going to end up in San Francisco, back where it all started. So Mac Hollins is going to be a big physical blocking receiver and give us plenty of fun stuff to mess around with, because the guy, dresses like it's Halloween every day of the week.
Wearing no shoes. Hey man, he
wearing no shoes. That's right.
He's earthy.
He's closer to the earth. Yes. Hunter Henry is back at the tight end, leading the tight end room. And then from there, it's suboptimal. Jalen Polk is set to miss the year. They got a third-round rookie in Kyle Williams, and they had the undrafted rookie Efren Chisholm, who's one of the surprises out of training camp. But I'm more interested in the running back room. The second-round pick of Trevion Henderson is, poised to be a lot coming, from that national champion Ohio State team. Effectively, already an established pass blocker and pass catcher out of the backfield. So we know how those third down backs get their work and how they eat in a Josh McDaniels offense. So, yeah, I think the difference between last year is Drake May, the one piece that we can sustain going forward on offense. Can they pick up 2, 3 more of those guys and build towards the future? I think we're going to build towards the future where we talk about actual ball, Nick. You said it's game week, so I couldn't be more than excited to bring the AFC North. We may have saved one of the best divisions for last. So we're going to hit that when you subscribe or comment or like on the Those Guys podcast YouTube channel. Nick Ferguson, before we head on out of here, what do you have to say to the people? What do you think about your New York Jets? Anything you want on the way out, not necessarily about your Jets, but the time you spend in the AFC East and kind of your excitement level for that division in particular being back in the NFL.
Well, I mean, that division is one of the divisions I spent a lot of my time in. And as far as Jets fans are concerned, the idea was that once the football gods bless the New York Jets fans with the retirement of Tom Brady, all would be forgotten. All the things that were wrong with Gang Green would all of a sudden disappear. That hadn't been the case because I guess they didn't tell us that Josh Allen was coming in when Tom Brady was freaking going out. So it's going to be an uphill battle for the New York Jets. And once again, man, Aaron Glenn, that's my dog. I wish him a lot of luck, but it's going to be really hard for him because he doesn't have all the pieces he needs with the Jets.
But we're still out here comparing ourselves to the Eagles. He's Nick Ferguson. I'm Alex Hardy. Be back with us as we continue to preview the rest of the AFC. If you missed any of the previous episodes, crush them. Get them all in before the regular season kicks off on Thursday. I'm Alex Hardy. Nick, what do you have for the people on the way out?
Make sure you don't eat too much broccoli because it causes a lot of flatulence. And you definitely don't want that in your crib.
Nick, we're not recording in the same room. It's all
Oh,
good.
okay. Well, hey, good for you.